Hello everyone, my name is Yu-Ling from National Yangming Jiaotong University. And on behalf of my co-authors, I'm presenting our paper about integrating attention management into the online status of instant messaging services. So what is attention management tools? Attention management tools are the tools that help you protect your attention. For example, if you find yourself often being distracted by notification, newsfeed, emails, messages, and so on and so forth, and you wanted to help yourself focus, like restricting your online activities or using do not disturb mode to silence your phone or block notifications, then you're using attention management tools. However, while these kind of tools can help people reduce distraction and help them focus, research shows that it also often lets people feel stressed or anxious about not receiving certain notifications in time, such as those that are urgent, those from some important others. Particularly, research shows that the always on and always connected world nowadays have made many people feel obligated to be available or to be responsive because they think they are being expected to do so. As a result, when using this kind of attention management tool, they also feel worried about not being able to fulfill their conversation partner's response expectations. So one straightforward solution may be that letting others know that you're using restrictions by disclosing it on your online status. However, we don't know how people will perceive and react to this kind of integration and what kind of issues or concerns that may arise. In this study, we aim to answer how will people react to disclosing their use of restriction on online status, and what are their concerns of disclosing the use of restrictions. To answer these questions, we apply a design research method. Specifically, we invited 43 participants to compare and reflect on a total of 48 mockups of possible ways to disclose restriction use on online status in various situations. These mockups were divided in two major types and three subcategories in each type. The first type is blocking, which shows when these restrictions take place. And the other type was communication limit. And we created mockups along several dimensions, such as showing a specific period versus countdown, showing a precise time when the restriction will start or end, or a vague one, such as in a few minutes, showing the restriction being activated versus deactivated, showing that their notification were blocked, their message were concealed, or that they were unable to respond. And for communication limits, we include the number of contacts with whom they could exchange messages, the number of messages, and the number of characters they could receive. For each limit, the status shows the limit has been reached, unreached, or the number remaining. The 48 mockups were displayed in 6 blocks on an online prototyping tool called Figma. In the interview session, participants were brought to the Figma link and freely browse and navigate through these mockups. Initially, the researchers guide them through this mockup, but also give them freedom to reflect on any mockup of their choice. The researchers also told them that the goal of providing them these mockups was not to generate a complete list of all possibilities, but to inspire them to generate more reflections on different combinations. Of course, they could freely propose other possibilities and talk about how they thought about them. There were 43 participants, and 24 were males and 19 were females. Their ages were between 20 and 49. 16 were students, and the other 27 were non-students with diverse occupations. In this study, our result highlights several important tensions around the disclosure of restriction use on online status. The first tension that emerged, as we expected, was between protecting one's own attention and fulfilling other people's response expectations. Along this spectrum, at one end was the need that put attention protection as the highest priority. In other words, they just wanted to focus and reduce disturbance regardless. And so they did not have much concern about disclosing their restriction use on online status. Like this participant said, I want him to see that I'm busy from 8 to 10 and I won't see his messages. The other end of the spectrum was those who cared about fulfilling others' response expectations more than protecting their own attention. One representative example was you can show people that you're not reading message or restricting notifications. It will harm your image. For many participants, on top of this tension raised the second tension. How much privacy people were willing to sacrifice in order to justify their restriction use. On one end was those care more about privacy and didn't want to disclose any about their status. As on the other end were those who felt important to justify and explain why they needed such a restriction period. To do so, many of them desired to disclose activity details so that other people would think their use of restriction was understandable and reasonable. Like this participant said, I have to share information like in a meeting, driving and sleeping, or my wife may overthink. Finally, we found that on top of these two tensions was how diplomatic people want to be when they disclose their use of restrictions. This described a need for being socially connected. They wanted to disclose their restriction in a polite way so that people wouldn't think that they were unapproachable and hard to reach. Based on our findings, we propose a number of design implications. One of them is the design space for the integration of attention management into online status. We suggest designers who are interested in such an integration read our paper to determine the level of restriction and the level of disclosure you want your system to support, depending on how much attention protection, how much expectation fulfillment, how much autonomy, how much privacy, and how much connectedness your users need. For more details, please look at our paper. Thank you for your attention. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions.